caught up with Diddy recently, who had very nice things to say about you.
Right.
Anything to say about the kind words? It's nice.
And it was just like this explosive, high fashion, cutting edge duo.
Jennifer is who told Puff to work with.
Jennifer Lopez.
Jennifer was telling me, yo, he is dope, yo.
What's next? What's next? I gotta get it. I'm not gonna stay down. I can't do that. What's next? Give me something else. Ladies and gentlemen, I come to you today as a man. I feel in life only a true man steps up to the plate.
Jennifer Lopez and Diddy were arrested together, but not for the reason you think. With all the recent controversy Diddy has caused, any name ever attached to him is being scrutinized under a microscope, or their past is being dragged back up and picked apart. And that is exactly what is happening with J.Lo. This hasn't been an easy year for the performer. Long-held speculation that she was getting a divorce from husband Ben Affleck turned out to be true, and now people are once again bringing up her arrest alongside former partner Diddy that happened in the 90s. This unlikely couple might not have dated very long, but they certainly kept celebrity gossip publications busy. But no incident with the two was quite as famous as their night out clubbing right around Christmas of 1999. While partying the night away in Club New York in Manhattan on December 27th, 1999, things quickly took a violent turn. Reported at the time was that in the club, Diddy, J.Lo, Diddy's bodyguard, and another music artist named Shine got in a disagreement that resulted in a fight, eventually escalating to people getting out weapons and firing them, injuring 3. Diddy and J.Lo were not harmed inside the bar and fled the scene taking a car. Forbes reports that the couple were being chased by police, and the New York Post reported that the car ran a red light before being pulled over by the police. It was during this stop that things started going south for the famous couple. Inside the car, police found a stolen weapon, the discovery prompting the stars being taken into custody. Obviously, arresting 2 of the biggest names in music at the time was going to cause a stir, and sure enough, all anyone could talk about was this. Present at the station where the couple was taken was retired NYPD detective Derek Parker. After the event, he spoke to the New York Post, giving them an exclusive look into what it was like in the room that night. He said there were all these high-profile lawyers barricaded in the station house waiting to talk to the desk officer, and further went on to recall that J.Lo was first handcuffed to a pole inside the station and then later held for about 14 hours in detention. Of course, like I'm assuming anyone who just experienced a club uproar and arrest like she did, the retired detective said J.Lo appeared distressed. Thankfully for her, she was released after the 14 hours and cleared of all charges. The Jenny from the Block singer didn't often personally speak on the ordeal. However, she did make one comment about the situation in an interview with Elle, saying it was a complete nightmare from beginning to end, and that she was scared to death in the car and had absolutely no idea what was going on. No one did. Though J.Lo was of course present at the scene, how involved she was is still up in the air. Earlier this year, new details came to light when Rodney Lil Rod Jones Jr. filed a civil lawsuit for non-consensual relations and harassment, but it also seemed to potentially reference this 1999 incident as well. It claimed that on the day Homeland Security raided Diddy's home, he displayed his and bragged about getting away with using these weapons against people. It went further, saying that Diddy also confirmed to those present that he was responsible for the New York incident with the other rapper Shine. Not only that, but that J.Lo was the one who carried the firearm into the club for him and passed him the gun after he got into an altercation with another individual. One of the victims of the incident, Natanya Rubin, has been outspoken from the start about the events that took place that night. Since the beginning, she has been very clear with her recount of the evening and adamant that Diddy is responsible for the projectile that hit her face. Though J.Lo was cleared of any charges, Diddy wasn't at first, so a trial had to take place that lasted a few weeks. In addition to the incident at the club, prosecutors also alleged that Diddy and his bodyguard tried to bribe the driver of the getaway car, $50,000 in exchange for him telling the police the weapon was his. Rubin did testify as one of the witnesses at the trial. During her testimony, she claimed that she saw Diddy pulling out the weapon with his right hand and then very soon after feeling immense pain in her face that later turned out to be caused by the firearm. Of course, you might notice that this would make J-Lo being in possession of the item and handing it to Diddy improbable, but if Rubin insisted she saw him pull it out, but it's not impossible as it could have happened before the altercation began. In the end, Diddy was acquitted along with his bodyguard. The individual that did not get cleared of all charges was Shine. The young rapper was convicted of assault in harming 2 bystanders and sentenced to 10 years in prison. In the end, he only served about 9. Since his release, Shine has taken a very different career approach. In 2009, the man was deported to his home country where his father was actually prime minister. Leaving his rap career behind, he decided to follow in his father's footsteps and got into politics as well. Successfully, I might add. He was voted into the country's House of Representatives in 2020. Though it is over 2 decades after the incident, Natanya Rubin is still fighting for justice. She joined Elizabeth Vargas Reports for an interview earlier in the year in which she shared that she still has 9 fragments of the projectile in her face. She shared further details about the rough night, that at the time and throughout the trial, one of the most important things to her was simply getting back home to her family. A follow-up interview revealed that Rubin was nervous even years later about sharing her story, even going so far as to ask for a deep investigation to be conducted in the event that she does go missing. This was happening right around when everything first hit the fan with all that Diddy stuff, so her fear is not unexpected. She also said in the interview that she wouldn't mind if the case was reopened, even going so far as to say that as long as it didn't cause any health complications, she would be willing to have a doctor remove a part of the 9mm projectile in her face to be used as evidence in court. After learning about what Rodney Little Rod Jones Jr. had seen that night, that J-Lo was the one that brought the item in, Rubin seemed more and more on board with reopening the case. She said, "I couldn't bring in a comb. I would absolutely, unequivocally like the case reopened. It needs to be reopened." Diddy has already had a rough year with the legal system after his alleged misdeeds have come to light. New allegations against the music star continue to pop up, and some are quite bizarre, like how he had 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Combs' lawyer insists he doesn't know where exactly that large number came from, and explained the amount away by saying the man simply buys in bulk, referencing the chain store Costco, claiming that people walk out of there with items bought in large quantities all the time. But Costco was not about to let themselves get roped into this situation and actually came out with a statement that they don't sell baby oil in any US location. It's not yet clear if the December 1999 incident will be re-examined in court as some of the victims wish. The only trial confirmed for the music artist now is the one on May 5th of next year. A gag order has been suggested for it. It would prevent attorneys or prosecutors from discussing anything further about the trial with the media. But what do you think?
In the shadow of the increasingly horrifying Diddy controversy, a barely known celebrity power couple was broken apart. Jennifer Lopez, henceforth J-Lo, filed for divorce from her husband Ben Affleck in August of this year, something which many had seen coming as they hadn't been seen together for months, and it seemed that they were slowly drifting apart. But it does seem that a simple falling out of love may not be the full story. It's no secret J-Lo dated Diddy decades ago and was likely therefore at least familiar with his freak-offs and other crimes. She was present when, in 1999, allegedly Diddy propelled lead from his hand device into 3 people at a nightclub, which was then allegedly pinned on young rapper Shine, getting him put in prison for 8 years. So suffice to say, J-Lo was pretty close with Diddy and was possibly even part of protecting him from legal consequence by denying the gat was his. When Diddy's mansion was raided, all sorts of things were recovered, from dangerous tools and illicit substances to the famed 1,000 bottles of baby oil, several toys, and even recorded tapes of his illicit and immoral activities. I could go on about how idiotic it is to both record and then store your crimes, but no one's defending Diddy, and this story is about the power couple themselves. Well, according to Suge Knight, not exactly the most innocent person either, amongst Diddy's many freak-off tapes were several tapes of J-Lo. Now, the details on what was in this footage is pretty hazy. Suge himself said they showed J-Lo doing this and J-Lo doing that, but what this and that are is unknown. unknown. That makes it pretty concerning given just what we know happened at these parties. This and that could mean anything from recreational illicit use to harder, not so recreational use to the conducting of several illicit adult actions potentially with multiple participants, and in possibly the worst case could show J-Lo forcibly interacting with people at these parties, which would be pretty disturbing. Well, when Diddy's mansion was raided in March, it seems that several of these tapes were recovered. By complete coincidence, this is the last time Ben and Jennifer were thought of as a happy couple, with a distinct lack of affection being noticed by reporters from May to August when the divorce was finalized. According to Suge Knight, this is no coincidence whatsoever. He believes that Ben Affleck, a powerful and famous man, was likely given or shown a copy of the tapes of J-Lo by some concerned party. Suge seems quite positive that Affleck did in fact see the videos and was troubled by them, but the details are not known. Given that the FBI is involved and is holding the evidence, it likely wasn't strictly legal for Affleck to be able to view this footage in the first place, so it leaves a big question as to how he may have received it. Diddy was a prolific recorder and allegedly recorded most of the depraved things that he coerced, manipulated, and forced other people to do. Much of this was, it's believed, intended as leverage against those people to keep them quiet and compliant. It's very possible that these videos are such leverage, possibly recorded intentionally and orchestrated to be as vile and embarrassing as possible. If so, then in a way these videos may have had their intended effect, to harm J-Lo and destabilize her life once uncovered. However, it's just as likely that these videos show J-Lo doing some pretty reprehensible things of her own will. Things Affleck may not want to be anywhere near or associated with someone who did. It does seem strange that the power couple united after decades of controversy, and right after P. Diddy's home is raided, they end up going through some marital troubles. Now, it was J-Lo who filed for divorce, as far as we can tell, but they were both clearly losing interest, judging by Affleck skipping her birthday and several other incidents. However, we do not know the circumstances the couple was under. It may be that J-Lo herself is going to end up facing criminal charges, and it's better for Ben and their kids for them to be separate. Or maybe Affleck saw something that changed how he viewed her, and she eventually couldn't stand the alienation and filed for divorce. The reporting around this subject has been really strange, with People magazine saying that she was done waiting for Affleck and that he wasn't giving her any signs that he wanted to continue the marriage. Allegedly, they'd been separated since late April. Now, that would seem to put the brakes on the idea that it was the footage that broke them up, but it may still be the case that they separated for one reason and stayed separate for another. The latest drama really starts here though. Ever since people found out about potential illicit video of J-Lo at the peak of her fame and popularity, there's been a clamoring to see it. Of course, with the evidence being held by the FBI, it seems impossible for there to be a leak, as this evidence is likely critical for the full scope of the trial. And yet, there has allegedly been a leak of some truly foul footage involving J-Lo and highly illegal CSA behavior. It's also been alleged that Ben Affleck was well aware of what was going on at the freak-offs and of J-Lo's involvement, which could put a whole new spin on things. So why are some sources stating that Ben Affleck is the source of the leak? It does fit nicely. Innocent husband finds out something horrible about his wife, divorces her, and then in revenge leaks the footage of this horrible thing. Except he didn't divorce her, she divorced him, and there's no reason to believe Affleck was the one behind the leak. If it's true that he knows more than he's let on, it's likely that both Ben and Jen are scrabbling to protect their reputations right now, and that an unrelated marriage dispute could be a good way for at least Affleck to stay out of the situation. But where did the leak come from? Well, several sources are claiming the leak was actually from rapper 50 Cent. It's no secret that 50 hates Diddy with a passion and has even been compiling a catalog of footage and recordings of the worst things Diddy has done, all with the plans of releasing a feature-length documentary sometime in the future. Allegedly, 50 leaked several videos of J-Lo doing some pretty disgusting things well after she and Diddy were apparently broken up. Now, we all know the sort of evil Diddy is, manipulative and coercive, and J-Lo herself has said several times that she was obsessed with him and very unstable at the time. Well, 50 takes this a step farther, alleging that even after their breakup, J-Lo was still obsessed and more than willing to do whatever Diddy wanted. Hence, these horrifying tapes. Some are still questioning whether J-Lo was a willing or coerced participant, and that's a valuable conversation to have, but just because one person is misused doesn't give them the right to misuse others without consequence. Most of this is speculation, as very few details have come to light. We do not have the benefit of hindsight, and we have no idea where the next twist in this story will come from. We have to slowly live through it until the trial is done and details are made public. The questions abound, however. Did the raid on Diddy's mansion lead to illicit footage of J-Lo doing incriminating acts? Well, almost certainly, but was Ben Affleck then shown those tapes, and did that then lead to a souring of their marriage? Or was Ben well aware of the depravity and it was a mutual decision to keep his name out of the limelight? Did Ben Affleck, in a vengeful rage, release the footage to the public, or was it someone else, like 50 Cent or any other number of Diddy haters? We will be following this story very closely as it continues to evolve and develop, and I have to say I'm just dying to know the truth. I just need to know if I can listen to On the Floor guilt-free or if it has to go in the Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley, R. Kelly pile of songs.
But Ben Affleck is determined to make sure his messy divorce with Jennifer Lopez isn't going to impact his new movie. You've heard of Unstoppable, right? He also doesn't want it to prevent his ex from getting the praise she deserves for her performance in the upcoming flick. Sure, that sounds like a bit of a mixed bag of a statement, but bear with me, folks. The actor rekindled his romance with the On the Floor singer back in 2021, and then fans were heartbroken when J-Lo filed for divorce in August of this year, following the months and months and months of speculation that their 2-year-long marriage had crumbled. And if you've been around for a hot minute, you know what I mean when I say months and months and months of signs. I think I've still got a Google alert for J-Lo. Despite the pair still working out the terms of their divorce, they've been forced to forge ahead on a professional level because they worked together on this film. They worked also with Ben Affleck's best friend, Matt Damon. So on Sunday, Ben Affleck broke his silence in the wake of the split to praise J-Lo's spectacular performance because, and I quote, he is adamant about keeping things civil. We've got a statement, folks. Ben wants Unstoppable to be a major hit, and for J-Lo to receive as many accolades as she deserves for it. Sure, that insider source isn't totally just a PR person disguising themselves as a bestie leaking insider scoop or anything. Ben doesn't want the relationship ruining any buzz for the movie and her performance. He wants it to stand on its own. Translation, he's commenting on it now to maybe avoid getting asked about it 1,000 times during press. But the insider continues, he knows that he's going to be asked about Jen during media appearances. Wow, I'm a psychic. He's adamant about keeping it very civil. He truly believes she nailed it. Ben's a filmmaker and an Oscar winner. He knows what works. He always thought J-Lo would be incredible. Okay, enough with the scripted nonsense. Now, there's another source that's claiming that Ben Affleck, which, by the way, his daughter Violet, still very close with J-Lo, is aware that any comment he makes about his ex is undoubtedly going to make headlines in the coming weeks, and his family's going to see it, but he has no plans to elaborate. Ben obviously has a lot of loose ends to tie up with J-Lo, but he's proud of her performance. He also knows how much weight his comments have, and if Ben says his ex-wife is good, then she must be good and people will watch the film. This is the first and only thing he has to say about her split, and well, that's all he's gonna say. Great, glad we got all that out of the way. Now the source did add that Ben and his producing partner know better than any that attempting any sort of avoidance tactics isn't gonna happen. Make no mistake about it, this film was a huge investment for Ben and Matt. They can't not comment on a star's performance when they're in a lead role in the film they produced. So yeah, okay, fair point, I'll give them that. The 1 point you get, sir. The 2-time Oscar winner made the comments, by the way, in an interview with Entertainment Tonight. He was joined by Damon, and he said Jennifer is spectacular in the role of Judy in the sports drama. Other than that, Ben Affleck's been staying pretty quiet in the wake of the marriage breakdown. But J-Lo did give new insight recently. I think it was a sit down with Nikki Glasser for Interview Magazine. She described her heartbreak as sad and scary. Now, I don't think she named Ben by name, but she did say she's not looking for anybody right now, and she did suggest that her ex did not embrace all of her flaws. It happens. Now, if you want to break down the relationship timeline, I got you. So in April of 2021, there was reports surfacing that the two were reconnecting. So this was right after J-Lo broke up with Alex Rodriguez, you know, the baseball star? So the couple confirmed their relationship on Instagram that July, made their red carpet return at the Venice Film Festival, and then they exchanged vows at the Little White Chapel in Vegas on July 16th of 2022, because nothing says romance like Vegas. So after Ben Affleck moved out of the $68 million mansion he shared with J-Lo and into his own rental bachelor pad in California this year, a lot of friends were worried that he might relapse. because of the strain of such a public split. And news outlets did report at the time that JLo turned to Jennifer Garner, Ben's last wife, for help because, well, she could offer advice. So we got Bennifer 1.0, Bennifer 2.0, folks. Keep track. So Ben was reportedly upset by the news that people were worried about him relapsing. Yeah, he tried to avoid reading the news, but it did upset him because folks thought he relapsed, but he hadn't. There was a source that was very adamant saying that, like every addict, Ben just woke up with one goal in mind, to stay sober for that day. Apparently the tough fallout from this split helped to show Ben how important it is to never jeopardize his sobriety. And you know what? All the props to you, pal, for keeping up with it. It's a great thing. Now, it's not unusual once you break up with somebody, you're gonna go for a bit of an image change. You're gonna go for your glow up. But apparently JLo is taking Ben's glow up a little personally, and I'm gonna elaborate why, because it does make sense. So Ben's been spotted out and about. He's had this like noticeably darker hair, noticeably darker beard, and a lot of folks are like, oh, did you like dye your grays? Did we get some touch-ups going? Apparently he's also looking buffer, you know, he's looking great. And the makeover kinda got JLo feeling offended. Why? Well, she's infuriated that he's only started looking after himself now that she's not around to reap the benefits. There's one insider that was like, yeah, he's going out of his way to pamper himself, look his absolute best. He's, you know, dyeing his hair, he's getting manicures, he's getting waxed, which like, okay, props to you, buddy. He's even getting hair plugs and seeing a dermatologist. Well, he wants to get skin treatments, he wants to turn back the clock. And JLo is seeing red, because these are all the things she wanted him to do when they were together, and he said no. Like, this isn't just like a little day trip to the salon. Apparently he's having like a whole lifestyle overhaul. Which I know, we're all gonna miss the Dunkin' photos. But apparently Jen was begging him their entire relationship to take better care of himself. So now she's feeling kind of wounded because it's like, oh, he's just doing this for revenge. Apparently even his diet is cleaner. He's cut out a ton of junk. And JLo's like, yeah, this feels like a slap in the face. It's sending the message to her that she wasn't worth making these changes for. But now that he's single and he's looking to impress new women, he's willing to like step it up. He wants to stop being such a slob. And like, yeah, I'm sure she loved him even though he was a slob, but she wanted him to be his best self. Despite the divorce not being completely finalized, Ben has already been linked to other women. I think he was spotted with JFK's great niece. But apparently, you know, he's saying this whole thing isn't like just to get a new woman. He's insisting, and this had nothing to do with JLo. He's just getting back to his old self. He felt micromanaged in the relationship. He grew tired of trying to impress her. He's tired of living up to her standards. Now he's taking advantage of the freedom to do what he wants. But the irony is, now that she isn't telling him what to do, he's realizing she wasn't entirely wrong. Ben wants to look and feel his best. He's looking to get on the dating scene. And JLo's watching all this unfold with a mixture of frustration, disbelief, because like, she just wanted him to be his best self. Especially since they both exist in the public eye. It makes sense. It bothers her to see him making all these improvements, knowing that somebody else is gonna benefit from the effort that she helped inspire. Now obviously her inner circle is just like, look, he's a middle-aged fool, he doesn't deserve you. But like, obviously she's gonna feel a little hurt. How is she cheering herself up? Well, retail therapy, can't go wrong. You know, she's spending an outrageous amount of money on a variety of things. She's also beefing up her entourage, which means, sure, surrounded by a million friends, but then you're spending triples because like, if I go somewhere, you're all coming with me. I want people around me to tell me this, that, yay, yay. There were news outlets that did report that she's throwing around money like she's a billionaire. She's not. According to news reports, JLo was spending $100,000 per day for a while on designer clothes for herself and her entourage. And like, look, I get it, spend your money, but $100,000 a day is a lot of money. And the way she was hemorrhaging that money, it's kind of madness. Sure, she says it makes her happy, and like, I get it, the dopamine from retail therapy is great, but like, look girl, you're worth $400 million, and if your financial team is kind of worried about your spending, then it might be time to like, spend a little less. Think about it, she's got this divorce to settle, which could cost her like $50 million. She needs a new home, and yeah. It's not unusual to go for a bit of an image change after a split, but Jennifer Lopez is taking her ex-husband Ben Affleck's recent glow up personally, and like, it's totally valid once you know why. The Batman star has been spotted out and about with a noticeably darker hair and beard situation, prompting fans to suspect he has dyed his grays following his recent breakup from Jen. Ben has also been looking noticeably buffer and, you know, smarter these past couple of months, but the actor's makeover has reportedly got his pop star ex feeling offended ended, with sources saying she is infuriated that he has only started looking after himself now that she isn't around to reap the benefits. Now, there's an insider that did say that Ben is suddenly going out of his way to pamper himself, look his absolute best. He's dyeing his hair, he's getting manicures and pedicures, he's getting waxed from head to toe, he's even getting hair plugs, and seeing a dermatologist for skin treatments to turn back the clock. And as you can imagine, J-Lo is seeing red because these are all the things she wanted him to do when they were together, and he refused. Look folks, for a while it seemed like Ben and her were a Hollywood fairy tale. They began dating back in 2002, got engaged that year in a whirlwind romance, and then dramatically called off their first wedding just 4 days before she was set to walk down the aisle, but then reconnected in May of 2021, then got married for 2 years before J-Lo filed for divorce in August, but 7 months before the official split, Ben had already moved out of their Beverly Hills mansion, where they had lived with their blended family. So let's see if I can remember all these family members. J-Lo's got twins. She shares them with ex-husband Mark Anthony. Ben's got 3 descendants who he co-parents with Jennifer Garner. So Ben's new look isn't just a trip to the salon. Apparently he's also like overhauling his lifestyle now that Jen's out of the picture. Once again, this new routine comes after years, the last 2, of Jen begging him to take better care of himself, feeling well, a little wounded. Apparently, according to sources, even his diet is cleaner. He's cut out a ton of the junk. It feels like a total slap in the face to J-Lo because it's sending the message that she wasn't worth making these changes for. But now that he's single and looking to impress new women, he's willing to step it up and stop being such a slob. But like, don't worry, Ben. We'll never forget the iconic Duncan photos. Now, despite the divorce not being technically finalized, Ben's already been linked to other women and was recently spotted with JFK's great niece, Kit Kennedy. Granted, apparently Ben's new look is not a snub at his ex. He's just embracing the idea of being a hot dad. He's insisting this had nothing to do with J-Lo. He's just getting back to his old self after spending so long being micromanaged in his relationship. He grew tired of trying to impress her and live up to her standards. Now he's taking advantage of the freedom to do what he wants. But the irony is that now that she's not telling him what to do, he's realizing she was right. So at this stage in his life, Ben wants to look and feel his best, especially since he's single again, looking to get back on the dating scene. And J-Lo's watching all of this unfold with a mixture of frustration and disbelief, because it bothers her to see him, making all these improvements, knowing that someone else will eventually benefit from the effort she helped inspire. Her inner circle is telling her, he's just a middle-aged fool who didn't deserve her. But she's feeling kind of let down. It's a bitter pill to swallow. I don't blame you. Now, how is J-Lo handling things? Well, she's trying to cheer herself up with some good old retail therapy, blowing a fortune on everything in sight. Apparently, she's been warned by her financial team that her spending habits are getting a little crazy. At one point, she was spending $100,000 a day on designer clothes. Look, folks, after you break up with somebody, some folks really jump into the dating scene, some folks really go hard in the gym, but J-Lo's like, I'm gonna do retail therapy. And same girl. Bath & Body Works hates to see me coming. You can't blame her. This whole divorce, this whole relationship has been nothing but rumor mill fuel for the last 2 years. But I don't know if blowing your entire fortune on yourself and your entourage is the way to go about it. Yeah. Did I mention she's been beefing up her entourage? So then her spending has gone all the way up because when she goes anywhere, they all go with her, and obviously she's gonna pay for them to be around her. According to sources, she's throwing around money like she's a billionaire, but she's not. She's treating herself to these outrageous shopping sprees, and she calls it retail therapy, which I get it. And she does say she needs it, but maybe the bills are a bit outrageous. If you look at $100,000 a day on designer clothes, I don't know. I think that's a lot. The way she's hemorrhaging money right now is apparently madness, according to sources, but she says it makes her happy, so it's worth it. Look, I think she's worth $400 million, but if your financial team is worried about your spending habits, that's kind of what they're there for. Look, let's break this down. Number 1, she's got this divorce to settle, which could cost her as much as $50 million. She's got to buy a new home. She's got to get rid of her old one, which is kind of hers, kind of his. So obviously her financial team is kind of like, hey girl, maybe scale back on the spending. It was recently reported that she is eyeing this lavish estate in Holmby Hills, currently priced at $55 million. Obviously she's trying to get the cost down. I think she described $39 million as reasonable, but it's still a 14-bedroom mansion with gardens, a greenhouse, a guest house, and an infinity pool. So her financial team's like, hey, if you want to stay where you are in life and afford this nice big house, you might want to stop spending so much on clothes. There was another source that was like, hey, by the way, the divorce, it might get messy because Ben and J-Lo didn't sign a prenup, which folks, you're rich. you know you have this money. Now you're gonna have to divide your community property. Apparently, JLo's net worth is approximately 4 times that of Ben's. And according to sources, once again, it's become very clear that there's no getting out of paying Ben half of what JLo made during their marriage, which obviously not sitting well with her. And rightfully so, she's probably going to put up a nasty fight if this divorce takes a nasty turn. She does have enough money to drag this out, as long as she stops spending like she is, and I feel like, according to sources that I've read, she'd rather give the money to lawyers than to Ben, so she's given her team the go-ahead to stall as much as they can, no matter what it costs her in fees. Now, for his part, Ben is trying to play down the money aspect of it, but there's no doubt it does represent a pretty decent payday, and he's justifying taking it by saying he deserves every dime just for putting up with her and all her drama. I guess it could also help cover his new, daddy makeover? Now, I do know the two have spent some time together following the divorce. I know they're trying to work together on their issues for the sake of, you know, the whole blended family situation. The whole family obviously got very close during the relationship. According to sources, there is still a great deal of love there. The couple came together back in September to attend a back-to-school night back, last month. They were also seen at a family outing in Beverly Hills. They're obviously trying to iron things out. They're trying to take the divorce amicably because I believe they also have some vested business interests and, once again, that joint property situation they gotta get rid of. So it's not like they can just be like, okay, I never want to see you again. Well, I guess they could, but it would be a lot more complicated that way when you consider all the financials. Look, they just want everything to be ironed out. They want the least amount of drama possible, and I don't blame them. Granted, they did have one public fight, I believe in Beverly Hills. JLo apparently said, and I quote, she will never forgive Ben Affleck after that public tiff had her in tears. There was a report in Marca that claimed that the couple was spotted in Beverly Hills and they were sharing some tense moments, heated words, however you want to put it. Wasn't pretty, wasn't very happy blended family. Now, pictures did show the couple on an outing. I believe the whole blended family was there, and they showed a very emotional JLo wiping away a tear while Ben just kind of stood nearby. In Touch magazine did quote a source close to JLo saying that Jennifer didn't want to make a scene in front of the rest of the family, but she has made it clear that she'll never forgive Ben for being such a cold-hearted jerk and giving up on their marriage. Look, obviously, the actors wanted to keep things civil during their ongoing divorce, but it seems like the cracks have begun to emerge as the proceedings get underway.
So starting off, we obviously have Mariah Carey. Now the Mariah Carey-Jennifer Lopez feud has been going on for years. It all started with JLo collaborating with Mariah's ex-husband, Sony record executive Tommy Mottola. Now Mariah claims that Tommy used JLo to try and get back at her and accused them of stealing songs. Later on, Mariah was doing an interview for the German television program TAF, and she was asked about other pop stars, including JLo. But she was asked this, Mariah just shook her head back and forth and said, I don't know her. Now the interview was uploaded to YouTube in 2008, and it quickly became a viral meme. Now both stars have repeatedly been asked about the comment, and they can't seem to decide whether they like each other or not. In 2014, Jennifer appeared on Andy Cohen's Watch What Happens Live, and during a game of Plead the Fifth, she was asked about where her relationship with Mariah stands. When Andy said, I've always heard there was a feud there, Jennifer responded, I don't have a feud against her at all. I know from back in the day, I've read things she said about me that were not the greatest, but we have never met, like we don't know each other. I think it's kind of from word of mouth of things that have happened in the past that I'm not really aware of. She added, I would love to meet her and I would love to be friends with her. I think she's incredibly talented and I've always been a fan of hers. But that same year, Mariah spoke to Andy Cohen about the feud, and she stood her ground reiterating, I don't know her, what am I supposed to say? Then this year, among JLo's drama with Ben Affleck and her failed tour, a source exclusively told In Touch, it's no secret that Mariah can't stand JLo. They've had a feud going back more than 20 years, so of course she's thrilled to see her ticket sales in the toilet, said the source. Mariah's never shy about trash talking JLo and always complains about how overrated and phony she is. She's happy the public is finally seeing it too. Seems like these two will never make up. Now, Rosie Perez used to work with JLo, and they met in 1991 during an open casting call for the Fly Girl dancers. Now, Rosie was the show's Fly Girl choreographer, and she claims that she was the one who convinced host and creator Keenan Ivory Wayans to pick JLo. Now, JLo made her debut in September 1991, but she really didn't get along with her fellow dancers. Rosie wrote about this in her 2014 memoir, revealing that hiring JLo was a mistake. week. All the girls were coming into my office complaining about how she was manipulating wardrobe, makeup, and me all to her advantage. Now Rosie wrote in her memoir saying that Jen thought the girls were just jealous. She went on to say that J-Lo dropped her sweet girl act and went off on Rosie like some ghetto biatch, screaming and pounding her chest. Rosie claimed she shouted, "You pick on me and only me, every effing day, every effing day. I work my ass off, deliver, and you keep pushing me aside, treating me like, shh, I know I'm good. I'm better than any of those girls and you know it." Now, J-Lo then left the show after 2 years, but she still made life difficult for Rosie as she talked crap about her. After being hurt by the alleged comments, Rosie was then surprised when J-Lo was friendly to her at a nightclub years later. Jennifer came over to me smiling, saying hello as if nothing had happened. "I should have let it go, played it off too. Instead, I killed her with my biting tongue," Rosie wrote. But Rosie later explained to Piers Morgan that tabloids made a feud between them a major thing when it just wasn't. "I don't hate Jennifer Lopez, I have great respect for her," she said. "When I first saw her, I knew she was going to be a star. Yes, we had a tiff and it was 20 years ago. It's unfortunate that the tabloids try to portray it as something that is current," she says. Regardless, Rosie had a pass with J-Lo and wasn't afraid to call her out. Howard Stern has claimed many times on his radio show that he doesn't like J-Lo, her music, or how she's acted in her career. Now because of this, Jennifer has avoided him, as when Howard first got the job as a judge on America's Got Talent, he tried to make his case by slamming other celebrity judges who, in his opinion, are more focused on advancing their own careers than doing the job they're hired to do. "I think a lot of the celebrity judges are not that good at judging, they're more interested in promoting their career," he said in a red carpet interview with HLN in 2012. "I was critical of American Idol J-Lo because I felt that she never said anything negative, let's say. And I felt like, well, it helped her career. She got very far, she suddenly got back on the charts and the show was good for her. And it became more about J-Lo." Now on top of this, Howard has reportedly bashed all of J-Lo's music. In 2011, Howard and his co-host Robin Quivers dissected her hit single On the Floor and repeatedly played the sound of Howard banging his head against the wall in time to the music. In 2016, Howard compared J-Lo's music to that of a homeless woman who sang a nonsensical song for his staffers. Then in 2019, he called out Jimmy Fallon for praising J-Lo's Super Bowl halftime show performance, and this doesn't even scratch the surface of how many times he's bashed her, so safe to say, he's not afraid of calling out the star. In early July 2003, Jennifer fired her manager Benny Medina. She accused him of violating California's Talent Agency Act, filed a petition accusing him of misappropriating her money, and sought millions in back commissions plus 10% interest, according to Billboard. It was said that Benny was not a licensed talent agent under the Labor Commissioner, a violation that entitles a performer to seek a refund for any payments to the acting talent agent up to a year before filing the petition. Now in J-Lo's case, this amounted to 10% of earnings from movies and television, 15% of her music, recording and publishing earnings, and 10% of her earnings from other activities, including fashion and cosmetic interests. Benny denied the allegations, saying, "Jennifer Lopez, by making false allegations against me, is now trying to add me to the long list of people whom she has used and discarded after she took from them all she could get. I will defend myself against these lies and will collect from her every dollar which I am owed." Now, in the end, that December, it was reported that the dispute was settled quietly some time ago. Now, Jennifer later rehired Benny to revive her music career in 2005, and the two have remained friends and business partners ever since, but it just kinda seems off. Then there was the time J-Lo's makeup artist Scott Barnes was fired after being accused of leaking information to the press about J-Lo's marriage to Mark Anthony. During an interview on the Jeff Probst show, Scott set the record straight after rumors circulated that he and two others leaked plans of J-Lo and Anthony's secret marriage, and as a result, J-Lo's team shunned Scott. He said, "No one would talk to me, it was like I had the plague." Then, when the truth came out that Scott did not leak the news or even know about the wedding ahead of time, he received a phone call from Jen, who Scott claims said the following. It was like, "Hey, it was a big misunderstanding. You know, we have a lot of stuff coming up and I really miss you, so let's just get back to work." Now, although Scott was very gracious about the whole thing, it appears that J-Lo did not apologize to him. Why he would go back to work for her, I have no clue, but at least he got the truth out that it was not him who leaked the news. And finally, we have J-Lo and Madonna. Now, their feud all began when Madonna was asked about who she thinks thinks is the best female singer in the world, and she said Jennifer Lopez was a good actress, but couldn't sing. Then in a 1998 interview, Jennifer fired back at Madonna, saying she wasn't a good actor while promoting her film Out of Sight. When asked about Madonna's acting skills, J.Lo didn't hold back. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft. Now, after the interview was published, J.Lo regretted everything she said about her colleagues and said it was all a joke. But Madonna had already read the interview and reportedly felt disrespected, so there was no turning back. Then there was a New Year's Eve party hosted by Donatella Versace that year, which was attended by J.Lo, Madonna, and Christopher Saccone. Christopher explained that Ingrid Carasez, Madonna's closest friend, ran into the courtyard during the celebration and shouted, "J.Lo is here and we are not talking to her." He said everyone except for him and Donatella Versace gave Jennifer the cold shoulder. And honestly, I kinda think she deserves it. Now since then, Madonna has made a couple digs towards J.Lo in the media, and their relationship is still rocky. Elon Musk has now inserted himself into the Diddy drama by calling out Jennifer Lopez for not warning us about Diddy and all the horrible things he's done. Elon, though, is one to talk. Now Musk was speaking on the Joe Rogan Experience when he began talking about J.Lo's criticism of the recently elected president and his remarks about Puerto Ricans. Elon then brought up J.Lo's personal history with Diddy, as she dated him from 1999 to 2001. He said J.Lo was like his ex-girlfriend, and now all of a sudden she's warning people about Trump. How many people did she warn about Diddy? Oh, 0. Maybe we shouldn't trust her opinion. He then added people in the music entertainment industry had to know that Diddy was doing those things. Where's the accountability? They had to know. Again, this is somewhat hilarious coming from Elon, considering all the horrible things he's done, but he's not the only celeb who's questioned J.Lo's involvement with the Diddy case. Ojani Noah, her ex-husband, claimed that she was involved in Diddy's freak-offs that came in his federal indictment. "I'm not on the list," he wrote on Instagram. To those people and media outlets asking if I ever went or participated in that piece of Diddy's freak-off parties, no and no. But my ex-wife, Jennifer Lopez, aka J.Lo, did. Ask her. Then Suge Knight believes that J.Lo and Ben Affleck's marriage fell apart because Homeland Security informed him that she was on the tapes that they found. "It's a white man who got respect in the white world," Knight said on his podcast Collect Calls. "I'm quite sure they said, we want to show you some things about your wife, and I'm quite sure they headed for divorce because that's a man who had a good life. Great parents don't spend a lot of money. Ain't tripping off paparazzi, he's living his life. He got his own team. She done brought all that extra out, and now that mother effer he want out." Now, J.Lo hasn't addressed the Diddy situation and will probably remain quiet on it. She was seen out recently and was interacting with fans when a paparazzi said, "J.Lo, do you have any comments about P. Diddy and the allegations?" Now, immediately Jennifer stopped taking photos and giving autographs and sped off with her team away from fans.
Do you have any comments about P. Diddy and the allegations?
Well, back up, look, don't lean. Jennifer, your sign, don't lean. Nice, your sign.
Now others called after her, telling the superstar don't leave, but despite the pleas, she headed away through a door, away from everyone. Now it's important to note that J.Lo has not been formally linked or accused to Diddy and his crimes. Just last week, one of J.Lo's past assistants has come forward and addressed her involvement. Thea D'Souza, who worked with J.Lo on the 2002 film Made in Manhattan, posted a statement on Threads recently that said, "If you knew Jennifer Lopez, if you ever worked with her like I did, or if you were close with people who are like family to her like I am, you would know she did not have any idea about Diddy. She barely drinks, she's not a partier, she isn't a good time girl, she is a workaholic who uplifts women and who was charmed by him for a brief time in her life." She then emphasized that J.Lo does not deserve to be conflated with Diddy's shocking and criminal misdeeds. Now, it does make sense though that people would question Jen's involvement, as she has been arrested with Diddy in the past. Yep, you heard that right. In 1999, Diddy was arrested following an incident that happened at a nightclub in New York. That night, Diddy was with his bodyguard, Anthony Wolf, rapper Jamal Shane Barrows, and Jennifer Lopez, who he was dating at the time. As reported by Forbes, the incident started with a disagreement and ended with 3 different people becoming injured. After the incident, Diddy, J.Lo, J-Lo and Jamal left the scene, but then the three were involved in a police car chase. Now, it's even been rumored that J-Lo threw evidence out of the car during this case. According to the Washington Post, police found a stolen weapon in the car, and both Diddy and J-Lo were arrested and initially charged with criminal possession of stolen property. Now, the charges against J-Lo were dropped overnight, but Diddy and Jamal went to trial. Jennifer spent 14 hours in a police station as the result of her incident. Now, she later described it as an unfortunate situation, adding, "We were somewhere we shouldn't have been. It was a bad situation, and any bad situation that involves celebrities, people run with." Diddy faced additional charges of bribery as he had allegedly offered the driver of the car $50,000 to say the weapon was his. Diddy was acquitted of the charges, and Jamal was charged with 5 offenses. Now, he served 10 years for his charges, according to the New York Times. But nobody was ever charged and found guilty of the actual incident. One woman who was a victim of the incident claims that Diddy injured her, which Diddy has denied. Natania Rubin filed a $130 million lawsuit for compensation against Diddy in 2008, which was then settled out of court in June 2011. Now, J-Lo has rarely spoken about the incident, but in the year 2000, she did address it in an interview with British Elle. She said, "It was a complete nightmare. I had absolutely no idea what was going on. No one did." Now, J-Lo was in a little bit more trouble when they were arrested because up until that point, she said she was born in 1970, but she was actually born in 1969. Now, it's just very strange to me because her age only changed 1 year. It seems like such an insignificant detail to me, and I don't know why she would change it, and it seems like no one really knows why, but multiple theories think it might have had to do with her schooling. Others say she did it to appear younger in Hollywood, but again, it's only 1 year. If she said she was 5 years younger than she really was, I'd believe that theory, but only 1 year doesn't really make any sense. But recently now, one of Diddy's accusers, Rodney Jones, who filed a lawsuit against the star, claimed that Diddy was responsible for the incident in the nightclub in New York and alleged that Diddy bragged about using J-Lo to smuggle the weapon into the club. He shared that artist and Diddy's girlfriend at the time, J-Lo, carried the weapon into the club for him and passed it to him after he got into an altercation with another individual, he alleged in the lawsuit. Now, all I can say is yikes. Diddy has denied the accusations, but again, J-Lo has remained silent. Is there more to the story than J-Lo is letting on? Regardless, I think she needs to clear her name, whether she puts out a statement herself or through a representative, because all of this is not a good look at all. Now, Diddy was arrested in September for running a crime ring for over a decade. While in jail, he's been faced with multiple lawsuits, and he's getting more and more every day, it appears. In October, Tony Busby, a Texas-based attorney, announced he was representing more than 120 men and women against Diddy. The criminal complaint states that Diddy held freak-offs where he distributed a variety of controlled substances to victims, in part to keep the victims obedient and compliant. Now, Diddy's attorneys have repeatedly denied the allegations. Mr. Combs and his legal team have full confidence in the facts, their legal defenses, and the integrity of the judicial process, his attorney said in a statement to CNN. In court, the truth will prevail. When you have a consistent line of victims alleging the same or similar claims, it just gives a lot more credibility to the allegations, said Trey Lovell, a Los Angeles-based entertainment attorney. Now, Nancy Erica Smith, an attorney in New Jersey, said, "The evidence, I think, is overwhelming," adding that the lawsuits are helping to change the culture. "I think that women are going to be less likely to tolerate it and fearful to speak out, and other women are going to come forward." Yeah, it just does not look good for Diddy, and with this though, it has people questioning whether those close to him knew about the crimes or even participated in them. That's why J-Lo's name has been dragged through the mud. It appears that we'll only learn more during Diddy's trial, which is set for May 5th, 2025. Apparently, Jennifer Lopez and Drake are dating. Again. Yep, you heard that right. It seems like the superstar has moved on from Ben Affleck and has been reconnected with her former fling, Drake. Now here's what we know. Sources recently shared with In Touch that J-Lo and Drake have started seeing each other again, and apparently it happened right after J.Lo reported her split with Ben. It seems like she didn't spend too much time crying over the relationship, as she moved on pretty quickly with Drake. A source said as soon as she filed the papers, Drake reached out. He was very sweet and told her what a fool Ben is for letting her get away, and then he quickly let her know that he's ready and willing to step in to satisfy her. Now, they noted that J.Lo likely isn't considering a serious relationship with Drake, but he definitely meets her needs for a hookup. The source continued saying, he's very intelligent and romantic, and she can count on him being discreet because he's always kept her secrets in the past. She loves hearing from him and sharing sexy selfies. He's very quick to compliment her, and he lays it on thick. They continued on saying they have their own history and a lot of chemistry, so it really did take a lot to make her smile. Getting that kind of attention when she was feeling so low was exactly what she needed. Now, they're texting every day and things are getting hot. Now, you may or may not remember, but J.Lo and Drake sparked dating rumors in 2016 after uploading pictures of themselves to Instagram. Now, almost as soon as Jennifer shared a snap of herself chilling with Drake backstage at her Las Vegas show in December 2016, it was reported that the pair were dating. Now, the caption she used for her pic was, "Look who rolled up to my show tonight to say hi, #love him." She then made another post of him giving her a bear hug and looking rather cozy, snuggling up to her. While some didn't believe the headlines, Drake's on-again, off-again love interest at the time, Rihanna, sure seemed to take the post to heart. According to an unnamed insider who spoke with In Touch, she felt like she had suffered the ultimate betrayal and dubbed J.Lo desperate and a traitor. After all, the two used to be close, and it said that Rihanna had confided in J.Lo about her rocky relationship with Drake. Now, although Rihanna never publicly addressed the issue, she unfollowed Jennifer shortly after. Reports later claimed that Drake and J.Lo were also spotted kissing at a prom-themed party shortly after. J.Lo confirmed that they were hanging out in 2017, but never gave anything more about the nature of their relationship. Now, the fact that they are allegedly together doesn't surprise me though, as J.Lo has been known for going back to her exes, and I mean, her whole relationship with Ben was just like that. Now, Jennifer and Ben first met on the set of the 2003 rom-com Geely. At the time, J.Lo was still married to her second husband, dancer Chris Judd. J.Lo and Ben then went public with their relationship soon after her divorce from Chris, but before their divorce was finalized, Ben took out a full-page ad in two well-known magazines where he gushed about how much he loved Jennifer and how good of a person she was. Now, this raised some eyebrows as some people suspected that J.Lo cheated on Chris with Ben. I mean, Chris's own father called out Ben for getting J.Lo to cheat on his son. It was just so messy. Then, in November 2002, J.Lo confirmed that she and Ben were engaged in an interview with Diane Sawyer. "It's the most magnificent thing I've ever seen," she said of the 6.1 carat pink diamond from Harry Winston that Ben gave her. Now, the ring reportedly cost him $2.5 million. Now, their relationship wasn't what it seemed though, because just 2 days before their wedding in September 2003, they postponed the event. They then released a joint statement announcing this, saying, "Due to the excessive media attention surrounding our wedding, we have decided to postpone the date. When we found ourselves seriously contemplating hiring 3 separate decoy brides at 3 different locations, we realized that something was awry. We began to feel that the spirit of what should have been the happiest days of our lives could be compromised. We felt what should have been a joyful and sacred day could be spoiled for us, our families, and our friends." Now, things seemed okay with the couple, but then on January 22nd, 2004, the two ended their engagement. J.Lo confirmed the sad news through her spokesperson. "I am confirming the report that Jennifer Lopez has ended her engagement to Ben Affleck," the statement said at the time, per MTV. "At this difficult time, we ask that you respect her privacy." They then moved on to be with other and marry other people, but the pair eventually found themselves back together after their respective divorces. Jen and Ben were then spotted hanging out again in 2021. Page 6 reported on April 30th that Ben was photographed visiting Jen's Los Angeles home multiple times. Security picks him up at a nearby location and drops him off after spending a few hours at her house, said a source who insisted on the platonic nature of Ben's visits. "They are friends, they've never not been." The two then started to hang out more and more, and even started dating again. Then, in a shocking turn of events in April 2022, J.Lo announced that she and Ben had gotten engaged again. again, a year after reuniting. And was this a good idea? Clearly not with the way it played out. But at the time, she revealed that Ben proposed to her for the second time while she was taking a bubble bath. "Did you ever imagine your biggest dream could come true?" she said. "Saturday night, while at my favorite place on earth in the bubble bath, my beautiful love got on one knee and proposed. I was taken totally off guard and just looked in his eyes, smiling and crying at the same time, trying hard to get my head around the fact that after 20 years this was happening all over again. I was quite literally speechless, and he said, 'Is that a yes?' I said, 'Yes, of course that's a yes.'" In July 2022, the pair tied the knot in a surprise Las Vegas wedding at midnight on July 17th. Now, the singer confirmed the news in her newsletter on the J.Lo, saying that a low-key ceremony in a chapel was exactly what they wanted. Now, they later had a bigger celebration, and almost everyone was happy that Jennifer was back together. Others thought that they wouldn't last and history would repeat itself, and they were right. At the beginning of 2024, things were getting rocky between the pair. They were seen not wearing their wedding rings, Ben moved out of their house was put up for sale, and they went months without being spotted together in public. Now, this created a lot of speculation that they decided to call it quits again, and they did. On Tuesday, August 20th in LA, J.Lo filed for a divorce at County Superior Court. The official separation date was listed as April 26, and the divorce came after just 2 years of marriage. It's been said that Ben and Jen had gone through all the details of their split before she legally filed for divorce, a source exclusively told Us Weekly. They'd already agreed to these terms before she filed. The insider explained about the couple's planned split after their 2 years of marriage. J.Lo finally pulled the trigger because that was their agreement that she would file, and she was the one who ultimately made the decision. Now, the biggest financial hurdle for the former couple was their shared Beverly Hills home, which they purchased together in May 2023 that was up for sale. "There's really nothing else to divide," said the insider about the property. "One person doesn't want more than the other. They both came in with significant assets of their own." Now, J.Lo waived spousal support and asked the judge to deny Ben's support when she filed for divorce. J.Lo filed pro per, meaning by herself without an attorney, and she listed their date of separation as April 26, 2024. Now, in addition, she petitioned to drop Affleck from her last name and cited irreconcilable differences as the reason for their split. Again, it seems like she moved on pretty quickly and is now finding comfort in Drake. I wonder how long that will last. One of J.Lo's past assistants has come forward and addressed J.Lo's involvement in Diddy's crime ring. And let me tell you, it's not what you think at all. Thea D'Souza, who worked with J.Lo on the 2002 film Made in Manhattan, posted a statement on Threads recently that said, "If you knew Jennifer Lopez, if you ever worked with her like I did, or if you were close with people who are like family to her like I am, you would know she did not have any idea about Diddy. She barely drinks, she's not a partier, she isn't a good time girl, she's a workaholic who uplifts women and who was charmed by him for a brief time in her life." Now, she emphasized that J.Lo does not deserve to be conflated with Diddy's shocking and criminal misdeeds. So, Thea claims that J.Lo is innocent in all of this, which is a great thing, and it's honestly good to see someone having J.Lo's back at a time like this. They've been digging up photos of J.Lo at parties and have been speculating a lot. Now, besides proof that J.Lo had been to some of his white parties, as she was his girlfriend, there's been zero proof that she had anything to do with the crimes Diddy committed, nor that she even knew about them. While her ex-assistant has stood up for her, J.Lo, for her part though, has stayed silent. And she probably will be for the time being, as she doesn't really address rumors or drama. It's obviously a sensitive subject and is something that the star doesn't want to discuss. So if you meet J.Lo, I'd suggest not asking her about Diddy. Besides, if she has something to say, she will say it eventually. It's a very sticky situation that she's in, and nobody is entitled to her opinion on the whole situation. Now, since breaking up with Diddy, J.Lo has claimed that he was unfaithful during their relationship. Now, maybe this is why she won't talk about him. She could still be hurt by all of this. Now, throughout their relationship and after their breakup, J.Lo was aware of rumors that Diddy was cheating on her. When the pair first met, Diddy essentially love-bombed her. He gave her a ton of attention and told her that he loved her almost immediately. J.Lo said this made her uncomfortable at first, but then she fell for him. As their relationship wore on though, the feelings of doubt crept back in. It was the first time I was with someone who wasn't faithful, she told Vibe magazine after the breakup. I was in this relationship with Puff where I was totally crying, crazy, and going nuts. It really took my whole life in a tailspin. Now she grew increasingly concerned about his fidelity, saying, "I never caught him, but I just knew," she said of his cheating. He said he was going to the club for a couple of hours and then he'd never come back that night. Now, Diddy himself has admitted that he was often unfaithful in relationships. In a 2015 appearance on The Breakfast Club, he said his partners would often be frustrated with his behavior. Now, J.Lo later admitted they broke up and got back together far more than the public knew, which honestly isn't healthy at all. But in 2001, the couple ended things for good. It was scary, and we broke up many times before that and got back together and broke up again, and nobody knew about it. Now, it seems like J.Lo was more stressed out about everything regarding this relationship than participating in Diddy's extracurricular activities. Yes, she attended some of his parties, but that was only when they were dating, and she didn't know what was happening behind the scenes. I mean, when J.Lo was asked about Diddy in 2022 when she was on the Wendy Williams show, things got, well, awkward. Wendy asked if she and Diddy would ever get back together, and J.Lo laughed and shook her head as the camera panned to her mother sitting in the audience. Now, J.Lo's mother looked furious as she shouted no while waving her hand back and forth. Now, reposting the clip on Twitter, one fan wrote, "Some of y'all didn't catch J.Lo's mom's reaction when Wendy Williams said this." Yeah, I feel like this says a lot about their relationship. Clearly there was something going on and she didn't want to be associated with him anymore. And the fact that J.Lo's mom doesn't like Diddy, that speaks volumes. Recently, some shocking information was revealed from someone who attended Diddy's exclusive parties. On November 1st, former model Rachel Kennedy appeared on Daily Mail's The Trial of Diddy podcast to share her experience. Now, during her appearance, Rachel revealed that when she met Diddy in the year 2000, Diddy allegedly played J.Lo's music videos on a continuous loop in his hotel room while he was reportedly on the phone with the singer. It was kind of an odd thing to find out that we were watching J.Lo's video, she said, describing it as it's a little bit creepy and very disrespectful. Yeah, I'd have to agree with Rachel on that. Rachel, along with two friends, was invited to Diddy's hotel room for a party after meeting him at Seventh Heaven, a topless club in Japan. She shared that it quickly became clear that this was not the type of party they had expected. Rachel recounted that she and her friends initially found Diddy friendly and decided to stay, even after noticing some wild behavior around them. "We went in, we didn't think anything strange, he was friendly enough, so we decided, okay, we'll just hang out with him," she said. Now, things took a turn though, and it's now believed that this was actually one of Diddy's freak-offs. Rachel went on to say when she and her friends were with Diddy, suddenly one of his bodyguards barged into the room and he looked so violent and angry. He then ejected the women from the room, which came off as a shock to them. She said, "We just couldn't believe what was happening. First of all, how does he have that much access to Puff Daddy's room? That's the first thing I thought. How does he just come in like that?" Looking back at the strange experience, she alleged that the Bad Boy Records founder teaches them the behavior as he's their boss. She added, "He is the puppet master of all of this, and this is why people think it's okay, because he's teaching them that this kind of behavior is acceptable. He's like a cult leader and these people are his disciples," she said. Now, this makes sense, as it's been released that Diddy had plenty of rules his employees had to follow when it came to finding him women. A former party planner who worked with Diddy during 2004 and 2005, who wished to remain anonymous, stated that women attending these parties were subjected to weight weight checks. We would do a weigh-in if necessary. The girls had to be young and hot, so I always had a scale nearby in case I needed to make sure. The number was 140 pounds, but if a girl was really tall, there was a little bit of discretion involved, said the planner, adding that other requirements included no flab, no cellulite, no overly pierced or tattooed, and no short hair. Now, the dress code reportedly demanded women wear short dresses with high stilettos being a non-negotiable. No pants, no jeans, no flat shoes. Every girl had to wear a party dress, preferably very short, just enough to cover her butt cheeks but no longer than mid-thigh, cleavage showing. And every single one of them had to be wearing stilettos. That one, there was no exception, high stilettos. The New York Post quoted the planner as saying. Now, it seems like we won't find out more from J-Lo regarding this whole situation unless she's called on to testify in court. But with everything that's been released about Diddy, J-Lo is the least of our problems.